Well, wisdom comes in all types of shapes and flavors. In today's society, in our current and the present moment, the rappers say, woke, I'm woke, I'm woke. 2,500 years ago, they asked the Buddha, what are you? Are you a demon? Are you a saint? Are you a spirit? What are you? And the Buddha replied, I am awake. Same difference. Wisdom comes in all different type of flavors. And that's what we try to provide in this podcast. We try to provide lifestyle changes and lifestyle enhancements. We urge and we dare people to experience themselves. We ask people not to find themselves. We ask people to create themselves. The best type of teacher will show you where to look, however, not tell you what to see. And in that vein, again, I'm joined by my good friend, my longtime friend, James Buckley. We're kind of twin brothers of different mothers. We got together at a holistic integrative psychiatric facility when we were not inmates there. Actually, we were therapists there ourselves, and now we're on our different paths. However, we had a lot of fun together, didn't we?
We sure have a lot of great times and great memories, and they're forever embedded.
So the idea is that most people sit down. I remember James seeing a cartoon with a married couple sitting at a table, and the other one looks at the one and said, when did we go from being married to still being married? It's like, when did we go from being alive to still being alive?
Yeah.
But the idea is, so what I think what you and I have done, and please don't think that James and I are putting ourselves on some type of pedestal here, but we've tried to keep recreating ourselves, have we not?
It's like we're not kind of settled with what we are at the time, so we keep kind of we're like a wet sculpture, where you're still shaping it. That's the kind of the way I look at it. I'm on this spinning pedestal. We're just
Indeed.
getting shaped, and it's still not, I'm not done with it yet. So
I hope not. Well, it's just like Alice in Wonderland when she said to the rabbit, she said, "I'm not the same person I was this morning," and he said, "Well, I hope not." So the idea is we're always evolving and changing. There's always something to learn.
there is, and I've said that. I can remember saying that when I was a teenager, that if a day goes by and I don't learn something, then I'm probably dead.
Did you ever have a stagnant point in your life, James? Did you ever have a time when you just became complacent and you just became a drudge? You just became a human doing?
I probably did. I just don't remember it offhand. I can't say that because I've been pretty active.
Mm-hmm.
I've had, you know, things I can remember and say, well, what did I do at that time?
Mm-hmm.
What was I doing? And I guess there are moments but it just can't, it's not in my recall.
So what a lot of it really involves is the company that you keep.
Yeah, and it's you're with someone and you do something like we have done in the past. That's something you remember. Do I remember what happened in 1971 in July and August months? No, I don't. I don't know what I was doing, but I can look back at certain events and certain situations, and it's great to be able to experience as much as I have. I feel very fortunate that I've experienced as much as I have. And I did this with a group the last week, and they were like amazed that I'm still alive because I tested the laws of physics so much when I was young.
You tested the laws of physics.
Yes.
Say more about that, Mr. Buckley.
Well, that can go quite a distance with that. There's a lot of rounds to that battle. But just to start off when I was young, and we were talking about fear, is what we were talking about. And I told him a story about me falling into the raging creek down in Carnegie at 4 years old. And then next year I got hit by a 57 blue and white Chevy Bel Air. How can a 5-year-old remember that car like that? But yeah, I got hit, fractured my skull. And, people say that explains a lot. And
Well, memories are formed by strong emotional
Mhm.
reactions. Strong emotions.
Yeah.
One of the strongest emotions we've discussed is fear.
And what brought all this up was me saying that one of the fear was afraid of heights. I said, well, I was actually on top of the Cathedral of Learning, outside on the roof. You couldn't go any higher, on the air conditioning unit, which had a not 45, I'm gonna say 22-degree angle to it, going down 42. So I'm like, what was I thinking? How could I get on that without being afraid? So, and I would go under bridges where we had 4 inches of walking space to hold on to concrete and 4 inches for your feet to walk in between openings. Hopping trains, that I no human can run as fast. But I'd run in limestone, so that's this high,
Mm-hmm.
2 feet off the ground, and you're running.
Mm-hmm.
So the chances of falling are really high, and so you could never run as fast as the train. But when that ladder came by on that coal car,
Yeah.
you would reach out and grab it and just pull yourself onto it.
So sometimes what we try to do is look for experiential experiences in order to give us that charge or give us that rush or get out of ourselves.
Well, it's just, and I look back at all that stuff, and I just amazed that I'm still here because I really put myself in some really precarious positions. And we'd hop the train through a tunnel. It'd go right through a tunnel. I mean, a half a mile long.
What's our past that propels us to our future?
Yeah,
We're all products of our past, and everything that you've did in the past creates that message that you have to give today.
exactly. And I feel the same way. I think there's a reason why I survived all those things
Mm-hmm.
is to do what I'm doing today. And so there's no other way for me to look at it. I have to look at it that way because the only one that makes sense.
So in the 12-step book, and I'm in 12-step recovery, I
Hmm.
keep referring to that, the message that can interest and hold people must have depth and weight. You just can't tell people to roller skate because it's good for you. You have
Yes,
to say, here's the reason. Or you can't say, hey, go jump out of a plane, go skydiving if you've never done it yourself.
exactly. And that's where my knowledge, experience create the wisdom that I'm able to use today. It doesn't mean that it's 100% correct. It's never going to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I can look at things and try to use that to try to
Mm-hmm.
help others to see what wisdom can do. Is give you some sort of insight of what could happen, what your risks are, things like that.
So what we try to do is share with people what works in our lives.
Exactly, and you see people struggling through things. So what that brings out in me, because I've had all these experiences, when they relay something to me, I always seem to have something to talk about with them to make them feel like they're not alone feeling the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
That
So many people, unfortunately, when we talk about taking a non judgmental stance, we often talk about people having contempt prior to investigation, which, according to Herbert Spencer, will keep a person in everlasting
yeah,
ignorance. So contempt prior to investigation. Some people might look at you and I and say, rather than call us seasoned, they might call us something else, James.
yes, and they do, and you know what, that's all right because it doesn't offend me. I won't let it. I have to give it all this stuff permission to bother me. You know,
Say that again.
I have to give everything permission to bother me.
You have to allow
I have
people
to,
to bother
yeah.
you.
Well, it's like people say to me, I'll say to them something like, stop trying to make me feel guilty. And they'll say, well, only you can make yourself feel guilty. I said, I didn't say I was guilty. I just said, stop trying to make me feel guilty. So, that's giving yourself permission to feel guilty.
So how do you keep these creative juices flowing, as they say? How do you keep creative and alive, James?
Well, it's a lot of practice. And like I said, I get pulled in directions and I don't try to explain why or why I'm there. I just know that I'm supposed to be there.
We don't need to figure everything out, do we?
Exactly. So I just said, this is where I'm supposed to be today.
So quite often what we talk about people when we talk about this holistic wellness, for those who've listened to the podcast before, is to be that gardener, to provide the sunlight, the soil, and the water, taking care of your physical body, the people, places, things, circumstances, event you surround yourself, you plant yourself in, and also the sunlight. And we make no apologies for insisting with people that there has to be some type of spiritual type of grounding in their lives, whatever that may be. Okay, so once we have that going, we want to be like-minded people. We want to find our own tribe, James.
Hmm.
Sometimes we're good bowlers, but we think that we're not going to be happy unless we join a golf league.
Exactly. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And you know what? You can have fun doing that. It's always fun exploring yourself.
Exploring.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't have fun exploring? Could you imagine what our ancestors did in trying to discover new lands and new worlds? I mean, it must have just been just so magnificent. And yet, here we have ourselves, our own world that we need a lot of exploration done, and only we can do it.
Only we can do that. And we is an important word in that, James. We. To be around like minded people.
Yes.
If you sat around with somebody that just said, "What do you like to do today?" "Oh, let's just sit here. Let's just sit here and think, well, maybe we'll take a nap." So what have you and I, not that we're the gurus or the templates to
Right.
follow.
Yeah.
However, what have you and I done over the years?
Well, I always get to the point where I think, well, I've done so much, I've experienced so many things, and here I am. I'm still experiencing new things, and I said, this is great.
You're still exercising your mind.
Exactly.
When you and I used to do podcasts together with students at a place called Sinclair. Okay, and actually, I will tell you a little story. Maybe about a month ago, I was contacted by somebody out in Los Angeles that used to watch the podcast at Sinclair and now listens to Fishing Without Bait, and they contacted us. So we do some Skype sessions together, and just try to have a little fun together. But every week, you and I had to come up with something different.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the creative juices at their, best. With some of the ideas we came up and how to put that on and have it work well. So it was not only entertaining, but also had some good knowledge behind it that was
We
very
had we
useful.
had to have that motivation. We had to have
Yeah.
that energy. We actually had to think, James.
Yes. And what isn't it great? I mean, to be in a position that you say you can think about something and make it work. I mean, how lucky we are, fortunate we are.
Not that, oh, what can I do or this will never work. Rather that you and I would get together and say, okay, we have an idea. How can we make it work?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We knew it was an idea that could be useful, and just how can we make this uh, get this across with the most impact. And there's a certain potential among with creativity.
What's that word?
Potential.
Ah,
There's certain potential in creativity, and sometimes some of us are kind of just accept whatever happens, happens. But others push the drive, well, yeah, whatever happens, happens. But also, this would be kind of cool to have this happen. And if we able to make that happen that way, then we've created something.
we
So
we
that's the
what we
potential.
we make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay, there's the deal right there. We make it happen.
Yeah. And here's my thing with action. Words, of course, have a certain amount of power to them, and they can move people. But there are times when action needs to happen as well. So those that complain a lot and don't do anything to change that become complainers. And complainers, uh, I just let them complain. Go ahead and complain. In my world, that complaint, you're complaining to someone who already knows what you're complaining about, maybe, and I'm doing something about it.
So Henry David Thoreau said that most men lead lives of quiet desperation, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. And most people go to their graves with the song still in their heart. We're encouraging people to sing, to have a life with no regrets. And to have no regrets, you have to take risks.
You take risks, and also, if things don't turn out well, you can't just punish yourself for the rest of your life. You have to be able to forgive yourself,
Forgive yourself.
and you have to be able to take the next step on. So if you're doing hopscotch and you miss three, what do you do? You have to go back and hit three, right? So, sometimes life is not so absolute. It can't be. There just can't be. And if you try to make it that way, you're going to be setting yourself up for some major disappointments.
Please check out our website at fishingwithoutbait.com, where you can listen to the show, comment on our discussions, and find out where you can subscribe to our podcast. If you're interested in flying the colors of Fishing Without Bait, click the shop icon on our website. We have clothing, mugs, cell phone cases, and so much more. Show the world that you fish without bait. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.